What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, though? I am live right now on my podcast. Also, I'm on my YouTube channel. It's April 2024 already, man. Time is flying. And I am here with uh, another Sunday segment. Long live Red. Miss my baby. Long live Red, man. All right, so uh, today's Sunday segment is entitled, What is Your Life? What is your life? That is the Sunday segment. To my podcast listeners, if you guys want to see me, put a face to the voice. Go to youtube.com, type in official iAmRudy, and go to my playlist and look for Sunday segments. Here I am. Welcome. So today is Sunday segment is entitled "What is Your Life?" All right, um, and we're going to be talking about the CD that I'm playing in the background is Carolyn Sun 2. It is available on all streaming platforms. Every single song on there was produced, mixed and mastered, recorded by my brother Ironic at Ironic Studios. Carolyn Sun 2, that's what you guys are hearing in the background. On my podcast, I will be playing some Carolyn Sun 2 today, all right? All right, so what is your life is the title. Um, we're gonna be working in looking at the book of James chapter 4, verses 13 through 17. All right. So the message of James in our text today is one that no person should ever look or disregard. All right. Now, the message in this text is one that, if taken in properly, it can alter how we live our lives today and every single day for the rest of our lives, right? So I doubt that the lessons I am about to share with you are new in any sense of the word, right? So if you know your Bible, you learn stuff when you read your Bible, and like you should, I'm pretty sure that you already know some of the things I'm about to tell you. So this message is a reminder. This message is a reminder, a word of warning or caution for those who are busy living from day to day, that they forget about how completely fragile and uncertain this thing called life is. Um, I had a coworker, turned friend. I'll give you a story about him. He passed away in February. Um, his name was Angelo Williams. So Angelo Williams, he passed away. I think Angelo might have been. I'm 36. He might have had me by 5 years, but he passed away in his sleep from a heart attack. Um, you know, I don't know his health history or nothing like that. I don't know, if he went to the doctor and had any health concerns, but to my understanding, it wasn't any health concerns or anything. So he passed away in his sleep from a heart attack. So that had me just thinking about how uncertain life is. And I want to say this too to everybody watching, everybody listening. Um, we need to set our kids up for generational wealth, right? I would rather be on this earth. I'll tell you a story. My grandfather, Charles Wyatt, the great Charles Wyatt, God rest his soul. So he owned the house that I stayed in more than half my life on Cherry Line. And he bought that house in 1974. So way before I was born, he owned that house. And he told me one day, like, hey, when I die, that house goes to you. Like, he pretty much said, hey, this is your house. I was living in it. Hey, this is your house. I need you to take care of it like this your house, because when I go, your name is down. Then I looked at him. I said, Dad, 'cause I call my grandfather Dad because that's my dad. I'm like, Dad, I would rather you be here than own a house. I don't care about owning a house. I'd rather you be here in the physical. But that was a lesson learned for me being a young kid that like, wow, so, you know, when my grandfather passed away, he already got it set in stone for me to get something that I can either live in forever and, pay the taxes on, or I can rent out, or I can sell to make some money, right? So that always stuck with me. So one thing we need to start doing is, first of all, who cares about uh, designer stuff? Nobody really cares about designer stuff for real, for real. We just buy it because it's cool, it's popular, it's the thing to do. I am a person that does wear designer stuff, so I'm not throwing shade at anybody that wear designer stuff. I wear designer stuff. All right. I have my own shoe line. They're expensive. All right. They're made in Italy, handmade. They are expensive. All right. But with that being said, I also, if I drop dead right now on this podcast, on this YouTube right now, if I die tomorrow, my kids is straight, right? Because I have things set up for them that they would not have to come out of their pocket to bury me. And I have a will wrote out where they would get money, not all at one time, but I'm not going to get into details about it, but throughout their lives, they'll get money. Even their kids will get money. Okay, so we need to stop, like, nothing against the GoFundMe's or something, but what I'm tired of seeing is people driving nice cars, wearing designer clothes, uh, popping bottles in the club, and then when you die, it's a GoFundMe out. What was you doing with your money? Y'all doing the wrong stuff with your money. Nobody is investing in stocks. Nobody is saving money. Nobody have trust funds for their kids. Nobody have a savings account for their kids. They just blowing money. You get your taxes back, and then you say, "Oh, I'm gonna buy my kids this. I'm gonna buy my kids that." Don't do that. How about all the money that you was gonna spend on your kids? How about you just put it in a trust fund, put it in a savings account, put it in your bank account, and make them the beneficiaries? How about that? So when you pass away and they go into your bank account, they're the beneficiaries. That money is theirs anyway. You got to start setting people up for financial stability, man. Y'all passing away, leaving people with bills to pay for your funerals and all this stuff. People got to raise money, cook food, all this type of stuff. But you was blowing thousands of dollars every weekend. It don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me. Like my mom had life support on, I mean not life support, life insurance on me. And once I got a certain age, I had to start paying it. There's nothing wrong with that. I had to start another policy. There's nothing wrong with that. Get life insurance. Put life insurance on your kids. It don't even cost that much. I think like $1 million. Now I don't got no $1 million policy. Now I ain't leaving my family no $1 million. But it's like $1 million policies like $100 a month. That's $25 a week. You spending $25 a week on bullcrap every week. You could be putting that money aside every week, 25, 25, 25, 25. Pay my life insurance. I got $1 million policy for my kids. For me, when I pass, they go to my kids. Or if I ain't got no kids, gonna go to my family, my loved ones. They ain't gotta do a GoFundMe. They don't have to do that. Life is uncertain. We never know the time that we're gonna leave here. We have to start thinking different. Man, we have to start thinking different. We got to start thinking different, right? We got to. Now, this message right here is a reminder of that, of how uncertain life is. Like simply stated, James says that our lives are like mist or like the stream of smoke that dances into the air when a candle is put out. He said, our lives are like a mist or like the stream of smoke that dances into the air when a candle is put out. I keep shaking my camera, I'm sorry. It is here today, gone tomorrow. Everybody heard that phrase, but I always say here today, gone today. Because you gotta die on some day, right? So that same day that you die, you was here that day. You was here today. Here today, gone today. Life is short. It's here 1 minute, it's gone the next. Literally. You got a death time. Here 1 minute, gone the next. There are loved ones who presence is as central to our lives as our own breath. And yet one day we look around and death has took them away. I've been through a lot of deaths around me, like close people, all right? To y'all that don't know me, I'll give you a backstory. My mom had me when she was 38 years old. 38 years old. So that means that my grandparents was old. My oldest brother is almost 19 years older than me. So my great aunt Lucy, who was like my grandmother, like all the people that raised me, all gone. Every single person that had anything to do with raising me is gone. Even to like my godfather Bino, but he got killed. He gone. He had something to do with raising me. My Uncle Dave was only 12 years older than me. He passed from cancer. He raised me. He helped raise me. Like every single person, I'm not making this up, I'm not exaggerating. Every single person that had anything to do with my raise is all gone. My mom, my godfather, my Uncle Dave, my grandparents, my Uncle Murphy, my Aunt Lucy, my Uncle Neil. Like they're all gone, right? So you never know when life gonna snatch you away. Like I said, my Uncle Dave was only 12 years older than me. So it ain't about age. I done have friends killed in the streets. I done have friends killed from accidents. It's not about age. There's there's no rule in the book to say, oh well, and God said you will live to see 87. We supposed to live to see a certain age, but these days and times we're not living to see that age. In the world, you never know what's going on. What is your life? Like flood waters. Like look at the flood waters that's happening right now. Like right now the flood waters, well a couple months ago the flood waters was threatening the USS North Carolina battleship memorial site. Flood waters. 3 died as a storm hit California. It caused floods and dozens of mudslides and stuff. People died from that. Unfortunate circumstances. Like look at the battlefields of Russia and Ukraine, and you will see how quickly somebody's life could be taken away from them. In a burst of gunfire or the breaching of a levee, the people we love the most can be taken away from us. Car accident, illness, murder, motorcycle accident, heart attack, strokes. We never know. At a blink of an eye, somebody could be gone. What is your life? What is your life? The book of James reminds us that we should not take tomorrow for granted. Never. We should not put off anything until some later time and say, oh, I'll do it whenever. So I'm a manager at my job, and the end of the year, I kept telling all my employees before we went on our little Christmas break, I'm like, hey, whatever you've been putting off, do it. Stop putting everything off. People say, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. How you know tomorrow gonna come? How you know you're gonna be here tomorrow? I ain't talked to such and such in a long time. I'll call him tomorrow. Tomorrow come on, I'm tired. I don't feel like talking to nobody. I'll call him tomorrow. Hello? What? Such and such died. I was just thinking about they've been on my mind heavy. I meant to call them. You never know. Stop putting stuff to the side. We should not put off anything until some later time. Like, we can't do that. Ask yourself these questions right here. Ask yourself, is your house in order today? Is your soul right with God today? Are you living in such a way that it is apparent that you understand that you could be here today, gone tomorrow? Are you living like that? Are you living like you know that you can die today? Like you can die tomorrow? What is your life? That is the question that I set before you today. What is your life? And to my oh, I cut it off too quick. I cut my podcast off too quick. Hold on. I wish I could edit it, but I can't. God, the only one I need now. All right, and I'm sorry to my podcast listeners, but I was about to say I'm about to play some songs and I'll be right back. So don't go nowhere. It's the Money Tree Music Group podcast. Get it? All right. So I'm sorry, y'all. Let me get this together. And that's Careless Son 2 in the background playing, by the way. And we're back. Money Tree Music Group podcast. I am Rudy. And let's get back to the subject. What is your life? That is the question that I set before you today. Do you understand that with all of our wealth and learning and social statuses and long range plans, you and I are nothing more than a mist that vanishes away? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's all we are. Notice that I'm not even referring to the material things that's around and adorn and edify our lives. I'm not even talking about material things. I am not suggesting that our jobs can be terminated or that our marriages can unexpectedly fall apart. I'm not speaking of the possibility that our homes or our finances could unravel or our health could break down and send us into a prolonged sickness. Any of these things could certainly occur without any warning whatsoever. But none of these things are as serious as each one of them. All of them are serious. But what is your life? What is your life? Any of all those things can happen, but none of those things as serious as each one of them cuts to the level to what James is pointing out in this message, in this passage, in this message. James is not saying that your job might be here today and gone tomorrow, or your car might be here today or gone tomorrow. James is saying that you and I can physically be here today and gone tomorrow. What is your life? It's like a puff of smoke that rises into the air and then it quickly vanishes away. You know, people, you guys smoke cigarettes, you know, you blow the smoke in the air and then it disappears, right? That's our life. That's what happens to us. That's what happens to us. What is your life? Now, I raised this matter with you today because I had a stunning brush with death myself a few times. And I will give you guys a couple stories. So, once, 1997, family reunion. I done told this story before. and because it was like a changing point in my life. I've talked about it in song, so if you listen to my songs, then you probably heard this story. It's one of my favorite songs right here. It's Carolyn Sun 2, Something About Us, dedicated to the one and only Miss Burt, Mrs. Burt. All right, so look, once was in 1997. I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, at a family reunion, and I was drowning in the pool. So me, my cousin PJ, and my cousin Richie was going underneath the rope from the deep end to the not so deep end, right? And I slipped in the water, and I couldn't swim. And my cousin Ronald Jones jumped in the water, right? I had lost consciousness, and I don't even know how long I was underwater. It might have been like 30 seconds or something. But if my cousin never jumped in that pool and saved my life, I wouldn't be here today. That's just a an example of how someone could be here today, gone today. And it was a young lady at my church, um, precious little girl, and the church had a convention, and I believe it was in Grand Rapids. I was actually supposed to go, but I didn't go. And the same thing happened to her. Unfortunately, she passed away. And it was like, I believe it was like 2017. So it was like 20 years like that it had happened to me, and it really traumatized me because I had just seen her. You know, we go to church together. Um, I was always with the youth, um, going to the zoo and doing different stuff, different activities, and seeing her in that casket. Even before I seen her in the casket, like just knowing what had happened to her and knowing that the same thing had happened to me, it was really emotional for me. Like it's still emotional for me. Like I really don't even like to talk about the situation. Like I could talk about my situation, but with her situation, her not making it, I really don't like talking about it. And seeing her in that casket really like traumatized me. Like the sweetest girl, like smart, energetic, like I did the audio at my church. So Ebenezer African Methodist Episcopal Church, Detroit, Michigan, 5151 West Chicago, Detroit, Michigan, by the way. 48204. Dr. McCall Thomas, pastor. Um, I did the audio at my church before I moved away. And the audio, if you ever been in my church, it's a pretty big church. The audio system is upstairs on the balcony. So she would sit in the balcony with other youth members on Sunday. So I was always talking to her, interacting with her, and just knowing like, wow, like God, you really saved my life. You really put Ronald in that particular place at that moment to jump in that water and save my life. That could have been me. And like I, that story, what happened to me in 1997, never like lost my memory or nothing. But when it happened to her, it pretty much like it just it stung. Like it brought back up like memories of what happened. And I actually went to Indianapolis. Uh, it might have been the year she passed or the year after, and I actually went to the hotel that I was drowning in, and I took pictures with the pool, and I was like, soon I walked in, like they was doing construction on the pool, but everything looked the same. And when I walked in, I just seen like exactly what happened to me. There was no water in the pool. They was doing construction. I was just looking at this side and looking that side, how like different uh it was, like as far as how deep I was actually down in the water. And it's just an emotional subject. You know, you could be here today, gone today. Here today, gone tomorrow. Now another time that I had a stunning brush of death was in October 2008. I was in a car accident and I totaled my car, and I started getting migraines at the age of 5, right? So my head was hurting real bad, so I just thought, I just had a migraine. So that went on for 3 days. And on the third day, my head hurt so bad that I could not stop crying. So I ended up calling uh, my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, "Hey, I need you to take me to the hospital." So she came and got me, and she drove me to Oakwood Hospital because that was my favorite hospital. I love their food. I wanted to go there, and I knew they not just for their food, but it was a pretty decent hospital. So I go to Oakwood, and they run tests on me and stuff, and then they was like, "Hey, we gotta admit you like right now, like your brain is bleeding. Um, if you would have went to sleep, you was not gonna wake up. Like you was probably gonna die in your sleep." And the crazy part about it is, I was trying to go to sleep, but it just felt like somebody was just punching me and punching me and punching me repeatedly in my head, and I couldn't sleep. But I was trying my best to go to sleep. I could not stop crying. I was in so much pain, and so let me tell you how good God is, right? So I was in the hospital for 7 days. I remember the day I got out. The day I don't remember the date, but I remember what day it was because Barack Obama got elected president. Because when I got out the hospital, I told my girlfriend at the time, like, "Hey, I gotta get to Noble School. I gotta vote. It's a black man running for president. I gotta vote for Barack." So that's how I remember. That was the day I got out the hospital. But I was in there for 7 days, and another crazy thing about me being in a hospital, and like I said earlier about losing people, uh, I lost Ivan, uh, Thanksgiving night, 2008, and he had came to the hospital. Him and my grandfather were the only males that came to the hospital and seen me, and that was the last time I seen Ivan alive. Was me laid up in the hospital bed. And I talked to him on the phone after that, but I never seen him again. And I remember when he came to see me, I remember he had on all black. And in his casket, he had on all black. It was crazy, but I remember it. But yeah, so um, actually, I got a song called Ivan too on my CD just dropped. Popular Loner. Go check it out. Streaming everywhere. It's also on his YouTube page. So I was in the hospital for 7 days and running all these tests on me, blah 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 blah. Days go by, like so. The doctor come in there. He's like, "Hey man, you gotta have surgery on your brain. We gotta stop the bleeding." He was like, "But I must warn you, if I make one mistake, you can die or be paralyzed for life." So I looked him in his face and I was like, "Hey man, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I'm putting my life in God's hands. I'm not putting my life in your hands." Like, what freaked me out the most is that he told me that. Like, "I'm not mad at you, doc. At least tell me, hey, this is the risk. Like, one little mistake, we're messing with your brain. You can die or go into a coma. I appreciate you for that. But no, I'm not doing it." So, you know, my father was incarcerated at the time, so they let him call me. They let him call me. Uh, he called the hospital. I talked to him and stuff, and he like, "Hey, you gotta have this surgery." You know what I'm saying? That's the second time I ever heard my father cry. Like the first time was at my grandma's funeral. The second time was him telling me, "Hey man, I don't want you to die, man. They saying that you gotta have this surgery, man. Have it. You gotta have it, or you gonna die. Like I ain't gonna see you when I come home. Like, nah, man, I'm not doing it. Like it's not. I'm not doing it." So like the only person that was like, "Hey, it's your life. You make the decision," was my mom. My mom was like, "Hey, if you don't want to have the surgery, don't have it." All right. So fast forward, I'm like, I'm on so many drugs. They just got me on morphine, so I'm like sleep all day. They put me with all this stuff, all these fluids and stuff. I'm barely eating, and my health is deteriorating. And they rushed me to the trauma unit the day before I was released. But let me tell you how good God is. Before that, the day before, I think it was the day before. It might have been the same day, but it was this Arab dude walking in the hallway, and he came in my room, and he was like, he had a Bible in his hand. He said, "Hey man, you believe in God?" I said, "Yeah, I believe in God. I know God real." He's like, "What's wrong with you?" I was in a car accident. Um, my brain is bleeding, and they want me to have surgery and stuff. He said, "You don't want to have the surgery?" I'm like, "No, I really don't want to have the surgery." So he was like, "Can I pray for you?" I was like, "Of course." He's like, "Can I touch your head?" "Yeah, you can touch my head." He touched my head and he prayed for me, right? Matter of fact, this was the same day. This was the day before I got out. I remember now. He touched my head and he prayed for me, right? And he left. He was an Arab guy. So that same day, they rushed me to the trauma unit. Like I'm messed up. Like I still got marks on my chest from the machines that they had me on. Like anybody that came and seen I was like my godmama, Mama Alice came and seen me. My god sister Lele. Uh, like I said, Ivan and my grandfather came and seen me. My nana, my mom, uh, both of my kids' mothers came and seen me. Um, Darlene came and seen me. That might have been it. I can't remember if you did come see me in the hospital. I'm sorry, I can't remember everybody. Um, it was more people though. I can't remember. But I was hooked up to so many things. Like they'll tell you. So they rushed me to the trauma unit, and they like the doctor coming in like, man, you gotta have this surgery, man. Like you gotta have this surgery, man. Like he's basically like you gonna die anywhere, like not anywhere to go, but he like let us try to help you from dying. So I'm like, nope. So the next day, like that night I went to sleep, I felt terrible, right? The next day I woke up. When I say I don't know what, but I felt amazing. I was sitting up in the bed and watching TV, and the doctor walked in. He was like, "Oh man, this is different. What's going on?" Like, I don't know, doc. I feel amazing. He said, "All right, we're gonna run some tests on you." He ran some tests on me that day, and he came back in there with a whole bunch of doctors and medical staff, hospital employees, and he's like, we don't see your brain bleeding anymore. We don't see no drop of blood, and like it don't even look like your brain was bleeding." He said, "Look, we gonna run some more tests on you in a few hours and see what's going on." I'm like, all right. So he ran some tests, and he like, I don't know, like all my vitals had went back to normal, and my heart was beating at the regular pace, and my brain wasn't bleeding anymore. And next thing you know, the next morning I was released. Stop listening. My iPad. Then I got my iPad set, so when I say next, it stroll up. I only use that for like Instagram and Facebook. But I was released from the hospital, and I went to go vote for Barack Obama. And then I used to go to the doctor. I had to go see him every 2 weeks for like 4 months. And every time I walk in, he'd be like, "Hey, hey, 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 this is the guy I was telling you about. This is the miracle guy." This is the guy right here. This is the miracle guy. Like he was calling me the miracle guy. I wish I could remember that doctor's name. That's another time I could have been gone. Last story I'll tell you guys was Easter, Sunday 2015. Rest in peace to my cousin Big Fred because Big Fred passed away that day. I was in a car accident. This lady hit me on Grand River in Schaefer, and the mark where my car hit is still in the building that my car ended up hitting. Like every time I drive by there, I see the hole in the wall from where my car hit. They say the lady was doing like 80 to 100 miles per hour. I don't know. She hit the, she hit me though. Like she hit the driver door. Like I wish I could put pictures up. I still got pictures of my car, my Magnum. I will put pictures of you could see her car imprint in the driver's door. And I don't even know how I got out the car. All I know is I got out the car. Like I don't remember the accident. Like I don't remember her hitting me. I don't remember getting out the car. The only thing I remember is laying on the ground and I'm hearing people scream and I remember that I think it might have been her cousin. The girl I was with at the time, her cousin or something kept saying, he dead, he dead, he dead. And I'm just laying there, can't move, can't really open my eyes. I'm just like, am I dead? Like, I can hear everything, but I can't move. Like, is this what death feel like? Am I really about to be up out of here? Like, this is death? Like, what's going on? Like, I can't move. I can't open my eyes. I can barely talk. Like, and it was crazy. Like I did see a light. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if that's true about dying or death. You see a bright light. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did see a bright light. And I'm still here. I went to the hospital and I had no broken bones. Only thing I had was my entire body from my shoulders down to my ankles were bruised internally. So I was super sore. Like they just gave me a whole bunch of pain pills, let me out. This happened like 3 in the morning on Easter Sunday. I was out the hospital like I think I got out the hospital like 8 or 9, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. And that's the day that my cousin Big Fred passed away. Rest in peace to Big Fred. Like I would never remember that day because we both could have been gone that same day. Would have been traumatic to the family. But that's just a couple of my stories about brushes with death that will show you that you could be here today, gone today. You could be here tomorrow, gone tomorrow. What is your life? And to my podcast listeners, I'm about to go to a break. I'm about to play some music. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back. It's the Money Tree Music Group podcast. This song right here, that's on Carolyn Son 2. You can only hear it on YouTube. So it's called One Man. I'll tell you about this story. This is off topic, but I got to do my little podcast. So, um, thinking about the last few years, it's like God took everything away. So what happened is he took my mama, then he took my dad's father. Praying down on bending knees at the altar. My life is a book, God be the author. Got tears in my blood, that's worth the author. Wish I could have. So what happened was, this is Big Sean's beats, right? When my Uncle Murphy J passed away, I listened to One Man Can Change the World a million times. That's the only song I listen to, I swear. I listened to that song a million times, I'm not exaggerating. And I want to redo the song, so that's what I did. Yep, so I redid it, but of course I couldn't play it on Apple. I couldn't put it through my distribution company because it's not my beat. So like my album Carolyn Son 2, if you listen to it on Apple or Spotify or whatever, it's not gonna have all the songs. So I call the YouTube version like the bonus version. Like I got a couple songs on there that's industry beats that I recorded around the same time I was doing Carolyn Son. So I just, instead of just dropping those like it's I don't know, singles or whatever. I just added them to Carolyn Sun too on YouTube, so it's like a bonus. And we're back, Money Tree Music Group Podcast. I am Rudy. So I just told you guys a couple of my stories about my brushes with death, and I'm asking, what is your life? Now, being able to survive unexpected circumstances, because every three stories I just told y'all was unexpected, right? All I could think about was the verse in James and the reminder that my life is nothing more than a mist that can be snatched away or snuffed out in a twinkle of an eye. That's all my life is. In January, I lost my Aunt Cheryl Talbert, um, and she had a brief illness, and she was called home to be with the Lord, like that quick. And when that happened, that verse hit me again, like, man, and then the day I was leaving Canton on the turnpike, I get a text message from my cousin Jeannie the same day as I'm leaving my aunt's funeral. It's like, hey, Uncle Ike passed. My Uncle Ike was my Grandma Ruby's last living sibling. But he was up in age, so, it kind of hit me. But the one thing I do regret is that it's kind of not my fault, and it kind of is, but every time I went to Atlanta, he stayed in Alabama, I would try to see him. And one time I was supposed to go see him, I got so tied up, and like when I go out of town, I be doing so much and trying to put in work and do this and do that and see this person that I didn't make it to him. And then the next time I had went down there was the same. Like it wasn't my fault. I was trying to see him, but they wasn't answering the phone or nothing. I don't know what was going on, but I couldn't see him. But I do regret not seeing him because I hadn't seen him since I was a baby. Like, talk to him all the time, but I hadn't seen him in a very, very long time. So, that's kind of like we go back to when I was saying putting stuff off. Like the first time when I went down there and I told him like, hey, I'm coming to see you. Like I should have went. Like I shouldn't have not went to go see him. I shouldn't have put it off thinking, okay, I'll be back in a couple months. I'll go see him. Not knowing that he could have been had something going on, and maybe he was sick and he didn't want to see me. I don't know, but I really wanted to take my kids to see him for real, because one of my youngest kids I named after my great grandfather, which is his father. So I just thought it would just be so dope to have them in a picture together. But I did talk to him all the time. But when my Aunt Cheryl passed away, the verse hit me again. And then when Angela Williams passed away, the verse hit me again. Like, you could be here today, gone today. This verse should all hit us because we all know somebody. This album I'm playing is famous with iAmRudy. We all know somebody that was here today, gone today. Here tomorrow. Here today, gone tomorrow. We all do. You and me are also subject to the quirks and the circumstances of life. We all can be here and gone tomorrow. And since that is the case, says James, not Rudy, there are some lessons that you should learn and some attitudes you and I should adapt from this day forward. Now, James concludes this passage not by saying how fleeting our lives are. Instead, he ends by saying three things. All right? And I'm not going to give you those three things right now. All right? I'm going to make this a two-parter. What is your life part two? Coming soon. Coming next month. All right? So, remember this passage. Go ahead and read it for yourself. Study it. All right? Go read James chapter 4, verse 13 through 17. Study it. All right? Next month, third Sunday, I'll be right back with part two. All right? I'll see y'all then. Famous Wolf signing out. A lot of people ask me why I named this album Famous Wolf. If you look up the definition of Rudy, it's Famous Wolf. Blessings. Oh, it's still recording. I'll see y'all next month, man.